afternoon, good evening. Welcome, everybody. This is our regular Sunday Meet the Atheists stream for Atheist Republic South Africa. Gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Kyle Butler. Kyle, welcome to our little corner of the internet.
Hey, Dean, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I ran into Kyle on TikTok and does some good work there. Yeah. I also just want to invite our viewers and our guests. I know we are running a little bit later than we usually do, but if you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to leave them in the side chat, and we will get to them if they are relevant to the discussion that we're having. So let's jump straight into it. Kyle, tell us a little bit about your background. Did you grow up in a religion like I did?
Yes, I did. I grew up in Christianity from a very early age, very young. Maybe I was 5 or 6 when my mother started taking us to church. And, it was a big part of my childhood.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Crazy. It's crazy how you get that. I wonder if you don't get introduced to it as a child, at what age would you? There would be like a threshold where you would go like, no, this can't be true. This is just bullshit.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting, Dean, because we don't let our kids drive until a certain age. We don't let them vote until a certain age. We don't let them drink till a certain age. So we've deemed that there's some things they're not mentally mature enough to be able to disseminate the information and make wise decision as to what they're going to do until they reach a certain age, right? So no, we don't want you voting because this decision is way too important, and you can't disseminate the information and make a informed decision as to who to vote for. So you wait on that one. We don't want you driving because there's a lot of stuff going on the roads, and you're not mature enough yet to mentally handle all these things going on. So don't do that yet. But you go to church. You can make a decision for your eternity. You can, and it's
your eternal soul.
That's crazy.
You got it. Your eternal soul. You got this one. Go run wild.
Yeah, you can do that one. You can. This information is going to be over your head. It's going to be too hard to believe. It's going to be just crazy. Your little child mind won't be able to make any of this make sense. But you can make a decision out of this.
Yeah. So what was the journey of deconversion like for you? What were there some key factors or experiences? We always get when confronted about atheism, people always say to you, "What happened? Where did God disappoint you? Where did the wheels come off?" So most atheists that I've encountered describe this as a gradual process. It's a gradual process, just like you're going up a mountain with a big wagon full of nonsense, and you just start unloading it as you're going up. You just keep on uploading. Was it a similar process for you, or was it just like a aha moment where the clouds opened and you saw that the sky was empty?
My journey actually started unbeknown to me. It started in 2007. Right. I mean, if someone had told me in 2007 that this path that you're about to take is going to eventually lead you to a place where you no longer believe in God or Jesus or the Bible, I would have said there is no possible way that's going to happen. That is impossible. Yeah. So it really started way back then, and it was slow. It was a slow progression. So I was still deeply entrenched in Christianity, in my belief in God, up until probably 2018, 19.
Recent.
Yeah. But after that, by 18, 19, I was pretty much deconstructed from a lot of the religiosity of it all. But I still held on to a concept of God and Jesus. But after 2018, 19, it all went very quickly after that.
There's a point where you just cross the top of the hill and then it's downhill.
Yeah, exactly.
And any particular people or organizations that were influential in this process? Because, for me, I don't remember the details, but there's this parable or story that we told where there's a sparrow that comes every day and he pecks on a statue, and the next day the sparrow comes again, and every day the sparrow comes and he just chips a little way at the statue, and then eventually the statue crumbles, And it was like for me. But the reason why I'm asking is because there's a lot of organizations who do great work in getting people to just think a little bit out of the boundaries, because religion likes to use molds. They want to put people in molds, and you like dough going through a cookie cutter. Everybody needs to think the same, behave the same, and as soon as people start thinking for themselves, that's when the magic happens. So, were there any people or organizations in your journey that were influential in this?
There were, and I probably owe a great deal of it to Facebook, which was the first social media that I was really involved with. So I started Facebook in 2009, I believe, 2009. And, in efforts to grow the friends list, I would just accept anyone that came along. If you sent me a friend request, I was accepting it, because I wanted to grow the list a little bit. And along the way, obviously, I had a bunch of like-minded people. So, other believers and Christians, because they would also be reading my posts and say, yeah, I want to be friends with him. So you know how that works. But then somewhere along the line, some of the people that I had accepted friends from early on, I guess they started deconstructing. And they started posting things that would make me think. And I'm not a social media blocker, meaning I generally don't block people unless you're doing something incredibly vulgar, like privately in the inbox or something. I've had to block people that have sent me images of kids being sliced up and says, please send us money and stuff like that. So I block people like that because you're just something wrong with you doing that kind of stuff. But generally, I don't block people. So
they're the type of people who need Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
Jesus.
If I see a post that I didn't agree with, I wasn't like, oh, I got to unfriend this person because they're saying stuff I don't want. So it wasn't like that. To me, it was like, did they just say that? Why would they say that? Let me think about that. It was those kind of things from those kind of people writing those kind of posts, and it would make me think. And it would sometimes be a year or so later that I'd find myself exactly where they were when I first saw the post. And I think, I'm so glad I didn't unfriend them because now I see it.
It's true. Yeah, I don't know. For me, I love these deep thinking sessions, and for me, I find debates especially stimulating, and listening to debates like, for example, the likes of the Hitchens, the Dennett's, the Harrises, those debates, I find them extremely, extremely stimulating. And the thing is, I grew up in an environment where, to even question authority or to question the authority that comes baked into religion was unthinkable. It was unthinkable. You don't talk back to your elders. You respect authority and all of that. And here we had these people who were brazenly just like going against the grain, saying like, I don't believe this shit. No. And I found that, beyond the initial shock value of it, I found it so enlightening and I found it courageous that people had these ideas, and they not only did they grow these ideas into these fully formed ways of thinking, but they also made more sense than all the other beliefs that were on the opposing side. And I think that was, for me, was the initial crack. It's such an interesting thing, though, that everybody's journey is so different. People think of atheism as this monolith of of, Marxist ideology or something.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to hear this. Usually when people realize that they've been conned, they get very angry, and then after a while it settles down, and then you turn into this mode where you want to prevent other people from stepping in the same,
Right.
on the same landmine. And usually we'll find that not in all cases, but usually people get involved in activism. It can be, when we hear the word activist, we always think of people in a picket line in front of a big corporate office and Greenpeace chaining themselves to a boat. But activism can be as simple as, I always say, as being that voice of opposition. Just saying, no, the line is drawn over here. If you choose to step over it, do so at your own peril. Yeah. And are you involved in any form of activism, either in person or online?
I guess online mostly. You mentioned the TikTok platform, which we met, but we met on TikTok. So that platform is a platform I use to present my ideals and thoughts in a sarcastic, humoristic way. So I try to use the sarcasm and humor, but to kind of push thought into it, though. Yeah. So, doesn't that sound really ridiculous? Can that really be true? Those kind of things. And then on other platforms, I use it sometimes in a more constructively thought way. Like we'll really take a concept or narrative or dogma or belief and really look at it from a human perspective and a logical perspective. And my heart is geared towards just helping people, not to try to destroy where you are and what you believe. Although I don't believe anyone needs religious beliefs as far as a need, a necessity, there are people who feel they need it.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to take away what you feel you need. However, for those that are starting to think for themselves, something you mentioned is so valuable, so important, so something not approved of in their religious world. For people that are starting to think about these things and are starting to address the trouble they have always felt about these things, then people like you and I, we're here for them because we know what that's like. And we found the courage to walk into a place of being free thinkers. And we found the courage to be able to question the unquestionable at one point in our lives. And we found the courage to be vocal about it. And I think that is a beautiful form of activism. And it's a gentle form of activism where we're not out trying to drag people away from what they think they want. We're here to put our loving arms around people and say, hey, we understand. You can share with us and we won't hurt you or judge you because of it.
Yeah. There's such solidarity in that shared experience, that shared experience just binds people together. And it's true what you say. Sometimes I also encounter people and I ask myself, do I really want to pull the rug from under this person? Is it going to help to pull the rug? They need the rug.
Right.
It's crazy. Yeah. So what fuels you, Kyle? What are you passionate about? A lot of people get very passionate about teaching people to think critically or to, be more skeptical about certain things. What is the passion that fuels you at the moment?
The passion that fuels me right now is self-love.
Yeah.
Really, I want people, Dean, I want people to realize how good they are by themselves. Yeah. I want people to know how loving they are and what they're capable of as love as they are. I want people to believe in themselves to the point that they see their value and their self-worth and and appreciate themselves and love themselves in a way that is unheard of in a religious environment. Because I
Right.
believe that if we can focus enough on ourselves to be, to get to a place of understanding the love and the value that we are, it's so much easier, number one, to be happy. It's so much easier to be happy when you can look at yourself and know you love yourself and you feel that love coming from within you to yourself. But it's also so much easier to love people. When I say love people, I'm talking about love them to a point where you don't harm them, you know, because I don't know if loving people is it. I don't know if it's realistic to say, well, I love people and I just love people no matter what, and to be
Yeah.
sincerely authentic about that love. Because listen, there's some people I don't like. I don't like you.
I was say that.
I don't like the way you act. I don't like the way you think. I just don't like you. I don't want to be around you. But I love you to where I won't harm you.
Yeah.
So because I don't like you, I'm not going to run up to you and hit you with a bat over your head. Because I don't want to cause you any harm. But I don't like you.
Yeah.
So I think that's, if we can come to that place to understand that element of love towards one another, that we grow and live instinctively from ourselves to other people, then I think that's what my passion is, to help people see that about themselves.
In a nutshell, humanism. That's what you're describing. It's just it's and I feel exactly the same way. It's just recognizing people where they are, and we've got there's such power in us as a species, as an animal on this planet. We've got incredible power to be destructive, to be constructive. It's true what you say. It's just that the ability to see people where they are and just not be harmful, like you say, because and a lot of people, sometimes I reflect on religion and I say to myself, it wasn't given to me in malice. People don't approach it with religion in malice. They are under a wrong impression about the truth and everything of it, and in that misapprehension, they still believe in the utility of these things that they are giving you. So it's not done in malice,
right?
But just it's weird. I find myself always in this inner struggle as to whether, like I said earlier, whether you need to pull the rug or just let the person stand on the rug. It's very strange. I always like to highlight the negative aspects of people. Always say to me, like, why are you always talking about the pastors who are selling miracle water, and the rich pastor who's flying his helicopter over the shanty town? Like, why do you focus on the negatives and the harms of religion? Because it does so much good, but it has a negative impact on people's lives. It's you cannot wrap it in beautiful paper and tie a bow on it. It has a negative impact on people's lives, and not only in the physical sense, but in the emotional sense. It causes you to live in fear. You're constantly living in fear of being judged, of doing the wrong thing. It sets unrealistic expectations upon you. You are expected to live in a certain way that is beyond the ability of any human being. It teaches intolerance. It teaches you to be intolerant to people who are not of the same religion, who are not following the guidelines of the religion. And it keeps you ignorant by sheltering you from the world. What kind of impacts, we both live in more or less first and second world countries here, but what kind of impact have you experienced in your life from religion that you would label as, like, that's fucked up, that's negative?
To be honest, and I was having this conversation earlier with a friend of mine. I mean, and when I say this is a well thought out, and I've contemplated this with great thought, because I am a thinker. So I try not just to have knee-jerk reactions to things, or just to say things off the cuff. I like to think that I've precisely thought out what I feel. And I struggle to find good in religion. You know, now I know that there's some people who feel like their religious beliefs guides them. But truth is, you didn't need a religious belief to be guided into good. So I can't, point that as, okay, well, religion guides people into a good place. So I think there's more toxicity in religion than there is good. I think there's more damage in religion than there is good. I think there's more destruction than there is life. So I think there's more negativity than there is positivity. And I'm a very optimistic person. If you were to venture over on Facebook and see some of my stuff on Instagram, perhaps you would see my view of life is very optimistic, very hopeful, and very positive. But in religion, having lived it my life, given it my life, experienced my life with it, watched it from a personal perspective and as an observer, studied the history of it, tracked it, I don't find much good in it. I really don't. And I find that it's been more detrimental, more demeaning, more dehumanizing to the human experience than it's been helpful. So
Yeah.
I don't have a positive spin to put on it for people. And I'm not a negative person. So that should say a lot. Yeah.
It's crazy. They say you can never distill a religion down to a bumper sticker, but I think that's that you could possibly put that in a sentence on a bumper sticker. Does more harm than good.
Yeah, I really do.
Or like a bad Yelp review. Won't recommend, 1 star.
Yeah.
So I like that you're a deep thinker. I'm also a thinker by nature. But my motto is I think and I doubt, therefore I am. But if you can reflect now, and look at a younger version of yourself, or maybe think of anybody who's questioning their religion. If there was something that you could impart to them to help jumpstart this journey of doubt, or just to maybe shine some light on that seed of doubt that's been planted a few years ago, what would that be?
Follow your instincts.
Mm-hmm.
Follow your instinctive knowing about yourself. You have always felt it. Follow that. Don't follow the opinions of others in this regard. Follow what you instinctively know. I wish I had done that, because I knew at 8 years old, I didn't want any part of this. Even though I grew up in it, I knew I didn't want it. I knew I didn't want it. And I knew what I wanted to be, and it was nothing like I became. I knew this at 8 years old. But I followed the voice of others out of fear, and as sad as it may sound, I really felt like I had no choice. I felt I had no choice.
Exactly.
It was do this or else.
Yeah.
And it was fear that made me go that route. But it's also my deepest regret about my life. I wish I hadn't done that, and I wish I hadn't abandoned me to follow something that was not me.
Yeah. I remember as a child how I hated wearing that tie. We went to a Dutch Reformed, so it's like completely Calvinist, a Dutch Reformed church, and every single Sunday I used to hate putting that tie. My mum used to force me to wear this tie, and I just couldn't get it. It's amazing the things that I still remember after all this time. Yeah. So, what was the fallout zone like for you? For different people, it varies. For some people, it's like a Hiroshima and Nagasaki type of fallout zone, and for other people, it's just a regular, oh, that's fine, type of thing. So, how did your family and social circle react react to your deconversion, and what were there any challenges or conflicts that arose as a result of this?
I have had a really supportive transition from family and
Right.
friends for the most part. And although my mom is Jesus 2.0 as far as the religiosity of it, she's Jesus for life, and she talks. We're driving down the street, and she's like, "Oh, the Lord and oh, Jesus is just," she's still mom. She's still heavily influenced by what all that stuff is. And I'm sure in her heart she's disappointed in where I've landed. I'm sure in her heart, and I'm sure she's praying for my return. However, it hasn't affected our relationship, which I'm so grateful for, because I hear so many horror stories, and I'm sure you do too, Dean. You hear all these horror stories of how a child decided they no longer wanted to do this, and the parents kind of disowned them and rejected them, and best friends and spouses. I mean, I know people, I talk to people, I've been on podcasts with people that are telling me they're going through a divorce because he no longer believes or she no longer believes. And I just think that it's almost, it's just, it's so hard for me to believe that people have decided, and I'm not judging, because I probably would have done the same thing too had I still been so deep in it. But it's hard to believe that we as human beings put so much value into something we can't see, touch, or feel. Yeah. And we put more value in that over people that we can touch, see, and feel. And that to me breaks my heart more than I can say.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. For me as well, there's some people in my family, it's a need to know basis. I mean, if I'm going to tell my 93, 94-year-old grandmother, I think she might just, she's either going to think that I'm working for Satan, or or she'll have a heart attack on the spot. She doesn't need to know. Like I see her maybe once a year. But then there are other people, like that. You get these passive aggressive Bible verses on these floral backgrounds. Oh my goodness. There's some people where you have to set in boundaries, but it's such a, again, when people, you get, there's some atheists, when they kick religion, they get that fire in them, and they just want to go tell Auntie Pat and Uncle Sam that they've dedicated their life to a lie, and their religion is bullshit, and this is the new truth and everything. And that usually goes down very poorly. But it's a unique journey for everybody. And if there's anything that I can recommend to people, it's prudence. Just be prudent.
Yes.
Choose your battles wisely. Mm-hmm. Like I said, sometimes it can be like the military. Just don't ask, don't tell. Just if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Kind of thing. But my again, boundaries are very important. Don't ask me to pray before I eat.
Right?
Am I? Are you a poor cook? Is there poison in the food? Why do I need to pray?
Right, exactly.
Right. So this process of letting go is something that I'm fascinated with. And typically people go through a lot of emotional anguish, and it's a very difficult thing to go through. And what was it like for you? Did you go through a process of critical examination? Did you do a lot of research? Did you read a lot of resources? If there's anything that stood out for you, would you mind sharing that? Or, any kind of philosophical perspectives or something that changed the way that you thought about religion?
For me, I remember when I started humanizing the stories of the Bible. When I started thinking about them in a deeper, more human way. And I know, Dean, I'm sure that thinking as a human doesn't fly in the religious, spiritual world. So You know, to those that are spiritually minded are life. To those that are carnally minded is death. Right. So that's what we've heard. That's what the scriptures say. That's what we hear in church all the time. You have to be spiritually minded. Spiritually minded. You can't be carnally minded. You can't be. So when I decided to take off my what I thought was a spiritually minded hat and put on a carnal minded hat, just a normal human being hat, and think about these stories, narratives, beliefs, and the dogma from a human perspective. That to me, because I connect with humanity, you know, I don't want to see people hurting. I don't want to see people, you know, being abused. I don't want to see people. I want to see people get help if they need help. You know, human to human, empathy, love, compassion for other people. When I started thinking of these stories from a human perspective, that really started tearing everything down for me. And I didn't do a lot of studying outside of, you know, where I've been, because I thought to myself, okay, all this study got you here, you know, so you just don't want to pick up another philosophy and study that to death. Let's just be a free thinker here. Let's just kind of see where your thoughts take you, and maybe a little bit of this resonates with you, maybe a little bit of that resonates with you. Like, you know, I started watching or listening to people like Joe Dispenza a little bit, and Bruce Limpton, and people, Abraham Hicks, and I started watching near-death experiences. So, you know, I would see a little bit of this and think, okay, I can use a little bit of that, and take a little bit of this, and I use a little bit of that, and, you know, different. I remember one of the books I started reading was Sinners in the Hands of a Loving God by Brian Zahn early on. And that kind of helped give me a sense of, okay, maybe God wasn't so bad after all. So it was just little bits and pieces. But I think the main thing for me is I just kept thinking, and I kept walking down the pathway of thought. And then I started really gaining my own perspectives and my own thoughts and my own conclusions and my own opinions. And then that's when I realized, why the hell did I think I needed Paul's opinion, or Jesus's opinion, or David's opinion, or John's opinion? Who the hell are they? I have my own, so I'm gonna stick with mine.
Amazing. Yeah, it's what you're saying resonates so deeply with me. You know, and the thing is, but it's baked into religion again. It's this idea of you are not worthy. You are not. Right. You know, what you have doesn't count. You know, you are but filthy rags. You know, you are but dirt under God's sandal. You know, so it teaches us to be helpless and powerless, and not to find that power and inner fortitude to develop. You know, I remember as you know, when I was a believer, I always used to think like, but how does this now fit into my, you know, how can I make the world fit into this little gauntlet of Christianity that I'm supposed to fit into? Meanwhile, it was it's a shackle. It's what was it's a term from one of the poets, the mind forged manacles. It's these ideas that just keep us enslaved to these oppressive ideas. I could listen to you for hours, honestly. It resonates so deeply with me. So a lot of people talk about science and reason, and you know, just as we as a species have accumulated more insight and knowledge into the workings of things, you know, these kind of understandings, they become more acceptable explanations for the world that we live in than, say, the burning bush and the way of the person living in the stomach of a whale. You know, so a lot of people say that science is going to be the end of religion, and I'm just wondering, you know, science and philosophy, a lot of philosophers lean a little bit more towards the non-believing side. I'm interested to hear your take about that. Do you think science is the nail in religion's coffin, and our understanding of the world, is that going to bury it finally?
Yeah, I think science is incredibly helpful. One thing I love about science is always willing to go back and, one, admit if it was wrong, and two, say this is what we think now. one of the things I dislike strongly about religion, Christianity exclusively, because I know Christianity, I don't know the other ones, but they're not willing to go back and review the beliefs to see if they really help people. Like, if you say this is what you're about, helping people, then why aren't we willing to look back and say, okay, does this doctrine really help people? Does this belief really work? Can people really pray in Jesus' name and get results? Why aren't we willing to go back and look at these things and admit they don't work, and then let's discover what does work? So that's what I like about science and how important science is to this whole thing. Matter of fact, on my way to work in the location I'm working at right now, I passed one of our airports. And so it's an international airport. And I live close to the airport anyway, but from this direction of driving, it's a flight path. So flights are always coming in. So I can be on this road and see 4 to 5 planes coming in for landing on this short distance of the drive. So the other day I'm sitting there, this time it's a little bit traffic, and I see a plane fly by, and I think, wow, we human beings, we did that. We did that. Like, you know, we did that. We made that. Humans.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here on one end of the planet, and you sitting on another end of the planet, and we're talking in real time, and we did this,
Right.
you know.
We did this, yes. You know, and science and technology have played a role in getting us here. There is nothing in the theological process that can say it has advanced us to get to where we are.
In fact, the opposite has happened. You know, religion is preventing us from actualizing our full potential. It's telling us that 50% of the human race, because of their gender, are inferior to the other 50% of the human race. Right. People who do not share the same belief system are, you know, excluded from everything. It's a tool for division and a tool for control and manipulation. And, you know, it just grinds me the wrong way. I'm one of those people, when I discover something useful and helpful, I want to share it with other people. I want to say, like, look at this thing that I found. It's so useful. It's so useful. It's simplified my life. It's made me a better person. And then people are like, no. We're going to go back to herding goats and living in the desert. You're going to fuck out of here with your science.
You know, it's pretty remarkable, Dean, when you think about it like that, right? So the writers of the Bible, and especially the very early writers, right? They thought that thunder and lightning was a God talking.
Right.
So the question we have to ask is, why in the hell are we listening to those writers who didn't know what we know? So every Sunday, churches around the world go and they sit while someone opens a book and reads from those same writers who thought thunder and lightning was a God talking. When there's people who have far advanced beyond that, have written books and given us information that they can also open up and say, hey, listen to this. So if we can't see the aim of control and manipulation and to keep people into a small-minded view of people, like you mentioned, other people, other genders, other races, other aspects of our humanity, if we can't see the intent here, that we want to keep people so small in their thinking that we can control them and manipulate them and keep them in a place where it benefits us. If we can't see that, then that's just not good. If we can't see that, especially today where we are with the technology and information. And I'm grateful for the technology. I'll say this real fast. I'm grateful for the technology and the science and information because it's helping people break away from the idiocy of listening to people who thought thunder and lightning was the voice of a god.
People who thought you could see the entire world when you're standing on a high mountain. You know, you can see the entire world.
Yes. Thank you.
That's crazy. Yeah, one thing I just want to highlight what one of our other hosts, Bolelang, says. He says religion steals your agency, and that is so true. It's true. It robs you. It robs you of the agency that you have over your own life. Yeah,
because you don't matter. You don't matter. You don't matter. You don't matter. You have no value.
No value whatsoever.
No.
So have you encountered any positive aspects of personal growth as a result of leaving your religion? You know, a lot of people report that they are just, like it's a major weight lifted off their shoulders. They become more accepting, more tolerant. You know, in what ways has your life changed or improved since leaving religion?
I mean, you know, that question is so exciting to me because, okay, I'm not what we over here in the States call a bullshitter, right? I don't bullshit. I'm not going to just tell you a bunch of blah, 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 blah nonsense. I've never saw the point to that, right? But I kid you not, my life is better in every single matrix that's measurable. Incredibly better.
Yeah.
And I say it this way. I have the data that shows what my life was like when I was totally dependent on God, Jesus, and the Bible. I have that data. I have the data that shows what my life is like when I've abandoned all of that and put it all on myself. I have two sets of data. This first data is sad, murky, depressing, you know, woeful, and just poor. This set of data is successful, meaningful, happy, peaceful, loving, kind. I have the data. So I'm not just talking shit or mad at a God or frustrated with some religious experience because somebody hurt me, blah, 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 and I'm going to get them and talk against them. No, I have the data. I have the data. This is what my life was like when I did this, and this is what my life is like that I'm doing this, and this is far better. It is far better. There's no bullshitting here. There's no overestimating here. There's no over-exaggerating here. It is real. So my life is incredibly better since I left all that stuff, and I have no intentions on ever picking up any of it again.
Right. It's true. It's you know, you're on the African continent. We are people who are very authentic. You know, there's you know, okay, granted, we are getting a bit of a Western, you know, that Western veneer of everything's good and we're all happy all the time, and you know, but very authentic people. So this you know, what you're saying, you know, as well is, it's so powerful because people have this conception that their identity is tied to their religion. I don't know if I'm wording this correctly. It's the other way around. You know, people will say, for example, I am a Christian and my name is Dean. They won't say I am Dean and I happen to be a Christian. You know, like it's ass backwards. You know, and just that ability to be authentic and like you say, even if you know, I have a horrible turn of events and I end up in dire straits and everything, I will still be happier because I am authentic and I am being truthful. You know, I'm not believing. I'm living. I'm standing in my own truth, standing on what I believe is true. And there's no value that you can put on that. It's a very powerful thing to experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And those loving Christians that we encounter now that we have left the religion, how do you engage with religious people and religious communities now that you identify as an atheist? Have you found ways that you know, that, so to say, like bridge building or you know, some tactic that fosters respectful dialogue and conversations? Because they've internalized that religion. So as soon as you say something against the religion, they take it very personally, because the religion has been internalized as a part of their identity. So they take it as a personal attack. So what are some of the tactics that you employ to make those dialogues go down a little bit easier?
Number one, Dean, I don't come from a perspective of I'm right.
Right.
So, I jumped off of that mountain that I stood on for so many years. So there's no place for me of I'm right. I have an opinion. I like to say it this way. I share my thoughts, my opinions, my feelings, my ideas. It's first person, right?
Right.
So like for this morning, I wrote on Facebook. I get the fact that Christianity is not necessary. I also get the fact that believing in a God is not necessary. And, neither are necessary to be good, happy, loving people. Now, that's a first person experience. That's not saying if you love God and you're a Christian, you're stupid.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's because I keep things first person, and because I do things from a respect perspective and a perspective of I'm not right. I'm just sharing my thoughts. Your thoughts might be totally different, and that's okay. I'm not here to tell you you're wrong, So I think that's how I've chosen to engage with those that are still in the faith and want to be in the faith, and those who engage me from time to time with their opinions and thoughts. I say, well, thank you for your thoughts and your opinions. I see it differently, and thanks for sharing. I'm not going to debate you on where you are, because you only want to debate me from where you are. I've already been there and thought beyond that. So I'm not going to go back to that, because you have no desire to move beyond that.
Yeah, I get it. It's great. I'm a little bit different. I'm more of a you get what you give kind of guy. So if you come to me with a reasoned argument then I'm going to take the time and give you a reasoned response and give it some some thought. But if you approach me with a mudman and rip woman in the garden with a talking snake 6,000 years ago, therefore Jesus, I am definitely I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna laugh and poke fun at you. It's very strange.
I mean, I do that sometimes too. I do that as well. I do laugh. People say, someone said to me the other day, I think you're in a cult, and I just laugh. I just laugh. Or you're satanic. I just laughed. Okay.
Yeah, I love it. I love it when they throw the devil in, because I always go like, guess who believes in the devil? Christians. They don't like hearing that. Well, Kyle, it's been an absolute delight speaking to you. I really enjoyed this conversation. Please tell everybody where they can find you on social media. If you have anything to promote, if you want people to connect with you. You can put that out there, and also just drop me an email with those links, and I can put it in the description afterwards.
Yes. Thank you. So Dean and I met on TikTok, so that's a place you can find me. If you're solely in the deconstructing world, so it's not for Christians. Okay, it's not for people who want to hold onto their Jesus and their Bible and their God and their church experience. If that's working for you, by all means, continue. But if you're deconstructing, you like perhaps sarcastic humor to stimulate a thought about a doctrine or belief or a narrative, then you can find me there. You can find me on Instagram, and Instagram is a page I commit solely to inspiration stuff, to build self-love and self-worth and self-appreciation, and to encourage and inspire and motivate you, the human being. And you can also find me on Facebook, and that's a combination of all this stuff that I do on Facebook. So that's what we have, and I'd be happy to engage with you wherever we meet. And a lot of times, though, when people ask me questions, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? My answer is generally always the same. and I tell them to follow their heart, follow their instincts, follow their their own knowing, because I think it's pretty dangerous when we try to answer questions for other people simply because they don't want to look inside and find it for themselves. But it's there where you find the answer you're really looking for. So,
yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for being so incredibly generous with your time, for meeting with us.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you out there on the internet. Keep fighting the good fight, my friend.
You too, my friend. Thank you.